Welcome back, everybody. The SPL Season 5, Day 1 rolls on. I'm Aggro, joined by Taco here on the desk. If you just missed what happened, it was Rival versus Energy. Rival ended up with that 2-1 victory, but we've got a really great set coming next, Taco. SK versus Mousesports. These two new organizations, the league here in Season 5. Excited to see what they can do.
SK not as unfamiliar, though, to the Smite competitive scene.
True.
They were here once before, although it's been quite some time since we've seen them in the scene again. But all the faces that we're seeing from both of these teams are going to be some familiar faces in the European scene.
It's going to be an awesome set, and it's just been an awesome debut day here of the SPL on Mixer. Thank you so much for joining us. The gems that you guys want, I know you. I see it in the chat all the time. We got them for you. It's Smite's birthday week, by the way, so you get a nice gem sale to go along with it, up to 35% off some gem packs for a limited time. But there's just gem sales all around, so make sure you take advantage of that while you can. I believe we also have a God Pack deal that goes along with that. I know we had the chest that was going on a little bit ago. If you still somehow don't have the Ultimate God Pack, you're messing up, number one, and it's easy to remedy because it's 50% off right now.
For every god that's been made and every god that will be made in the future, so God Pack's always really important to have.
The best deal in gaming somehow continues to get better. I was a sucker back in the day. I just bought it for $30, thought I was getting away with murder, and truth be told, I really was. It was that good then. Now, God, well, what a deal we've got going on for you guys. Okay, we got the promos out of the way. We can get into the thick of it. SK versus Mousesports. As you mentioned, SK used to be a part of the league, now coming back, but with the roster that I think has some real legs to it. Funballer, Lawbster, these guys still together. Still got Faeles, Ducky, and then with SK, it just seems fitting that an old face returns, Badgah, for support.
It's been a while. He won't be licking deodorant this time, though, hopefully. And
wow, we got how long with Badgah on screen? Like 20 seconds before we're already roasting him for his stream?
Sometimes you just can never forget about certain things that happen. It's permanent on the internet.
That's fair. That's fair. For the Mixer co-stream that we've got for this matchup, last time you got to see Adapting versus Deathwalker. On the side of SK, you get to watch Lawbster, which I'm personally excited about. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I voted for Lawbster, and I kind of rigged it to make sure that I got to watch him because I love watching this guy play. Obviously, I'm biased. He's a great mid laner who's been around for a very long time and just has that veteran presence in the mid lane.
There's so much leadership potential behind a player like Lawbster. He just has experienced so many different aspects of the competitive life and so many different iterations of the Smite map in general that bringing in one more new one to the mix won't make too much of a difference.
No, Papa Lob has been around since the beginning, and whether it's on the Anubis or the Signature Poseidon, the Ra, whatever he wants to play, always seems to have some sort of highlight reel moment or seems to be the focus. And I think that's something that this team has kind of had the identity for a long time of. Lawbster does a lot for the team, but also seems to get focused down a lot, and it lets Funball be the kind of star player for the roster. But in Season 5, mages seem to be a little bit more impactful in the mid game than hunters are. So can SK kind of change up their strategy and allow Lawbster to be the star now?
It's hard to not be excited about thinking of Lawbster being the star here because this is a guy that's accustomed to making those highlight reel plays. It's not uncommon to see Lawbster popping off in an SPL match, and now particularly since mages are benefiting so much out of new itemization being brought into the Season 5 map, it's going to be a perfect case environment for him to really try and shine, be that leadership presence that we know that he's capable of and has shown in the past.
Now on the other side, Mousesports, these guys have a lot of talent on their roster as well. The Elevate team is the core of this roster that was able to make it to Worlds last year, really shock a lot of folks, really become some big fan favorites here. You've still got Dardez, Jermain, and Cherryo, but some newer names, Nika in that solo lane, and then BigManTingz, the kind of facing off against his old roster, used to be the support player for Lawbster, Funball, and the crew, now playing mid lane for Mousesports.
A bit of a swap as well because he's coming in completely fresh for the role in a new map environment, and whenever you're making those kind of transitions, you're going to expect a little bit of the delay, especially going against players that have been around the scene for so long. Lawbster in particular is a very rough starting matchup, but whether or not BigManTingz is still going to be able to do the BigManTingz is probably going to be answered in this set.
I'll tell you what, it's tough to play against any sort of EU mid laner right now. They've all been playing so well. But for the Mixer co-stream, we're going to be riding along with Cherryo, the jungler for Mousesports. It's going to be his job to make sure that BigManTingz is as comfortable as possible. And this is a guy I cannot wait to watch in Season 5 because Cherryo's identity as a jungler has forever been Najah's his only assassin with sometimes the Hunbats, and then a bunch of Guardians that he plays super well. is he going to be able to adapt to this assassin jungler meta, or is he going to go to stick with what he's good with and sticks with the Guardians?
I think Cherryo is a solid enough mechanical player that I do feel as though he can make that swap over back to the Assassin meta. Burst is just so heavily favored right now. Wouldn't be too surprised to see some of his classic favorite picks coming through, such as the Athena and the Amirs. You can still get a lot of benefit off of those gods in the jungle, but more particularly, I would prefer to see him on an Assassin just to show that he can match what everybody else has got.
If he's going to an Assassin, it kind of feels like it's going to be that Naja or the Hunbats, right? I mean, if you're going to start off the new season with something new, maybe just sticking with what you've been comfortable with in the past. I mean, we always talk about it with Cherryo. He's playing from Egypt. He plays with a bunch of ping, blah, 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 blah. The man looks insane when he plays Naja, so that's what I want to see, and we don't have to wait too long to find out. Picks and bans ready for SK up against Mousesports, our second set here today on the debut of SPL Season 5.
And one of the more fun aspects, too, about competitive play is that it's not unusual to see different bans coming through for different teams playing each other. All of these players have their own kind of preferences, and at a competitive level, you don't necessarily look to what the public might be viewing as just strong gods in general, as much as you might try to chase out somebody's god pool that you think might be a threat or an issue. For me, I think it's going to be Lawbster getting looked at.
Well, it's Cirquet right away, a god that we haven't seen Cherryo play a whole lot of historically, but clearly SK still feels like they owe him some respect for the Assassin that we haven't been able to see quite yet. She's been banned in every single game so far.
And we've already been seeing a lot of heavy preference towards the Dardez. I do also feel as though SK might be a team kind of leaning towards that, which is why we see Mousesports already eliminating it from the options.
Faeles seems like a dodgy player, can get in and out very easily. The Hunbats is something that I always associate with Faeles, is a strong pick for him. And Dodgy can kind of feel that way as well, where jump in, initiate, get the ball rolling, and then have to make some sort of crazy play to make sure you survive. That seems like a god that can be in Faeles' wheelhouse. And
possibly an Athena ban as well for SK as their secondary choice. Although it's going to be the RDO. We did see Cherryo attempting to make RDO jungle a thing, and it worked out once or twice.
Against Obey Alliance at Super Regionals last year. So could be a jungle ban. Still, the RDO is just one of those gods that's so flexible. Is it for Cherryo? Maybe. Is it still a decent ban to keep it out of the hands of Dardez or Nika in the solo lane? Sure. I have no problem with this ban from SK.
RDO sustainability can be such a pain when you're trying to take her out of the team fighting situation. She's just constantly in your face applying pressure, so always a strong pick to eliminate. I love the Thoth takeaway as well from Mousesports, not wanting to allow a player like Lawbster such a heavy controlling mid lane god.
Soul is a god that we saw a lot of talk about coming into Season 5, that Soul feels very strong right now, but we haven't seen her quite yet. Lawbster's a guy that could pull it out.
Lawbster's a guy that could pull it out, but Funballer is another guy that can also make a very strong debut with Soul. She's probably one of the more preferable hunters as well, although it seems as though they want to go ahead and establish a little bit more lane pressure. I like the Kukulkan here only because of the fact that there is some flex pick option. It could potentially be used in that support role position, but more often than not, I'd expect it to be solo.
I think we're on the same page here that we're hoping that Kukulkan's in the solo lane. Big bully god that I want to see in solo because his damage from ahead can be really oppressive at times. Discordia early pick here for Mousesports. This tells me that prioritizing BigManTingz pick early on is not a bad idea. You got to wonder about where his god pool is at, moving from support into the mid lane, making sure that he gets a pick that he's comfortable with early on. Is Discordia worthy of the top pick of your draft? Probably not. But when your mid laner is new to the role, it makes sense to me.
You want to make sure that Big Man's going to at least be on a god that he feels comfortable with. If they're willing to select Discordia in their top 3, then it's a god that they trust to not really be in an unfavorable position as the draft continues and as the counter picks start coming through. I also like Discordia because that ultimate could be pretty useful against the Nemesis, the root as well, really trying to help deter from all of that burst follow-up.
Yeah, the cripple on that ultimate, pretty impactful. Something that kind of gets overlooked because it just has a bunch of burst damage and kind of makes you spam taunt, which is the fun part of it at least. Soul, as we mentioned, could be in the mid lane for Lawbster, could be for Funball as well. And Camazot's selected now. So that could be in the solo lane for Nika, but still probably a jungler in this situation for Cherryo, I'd imagine. I want to talk about this Ullr selection, though. That is a pick that I really like. Like I said, we both are on the same page here that selecting BigManTingz god early, making sure that he's comfortable, makes sense to us. but also just giving your star player, one of the best gods in his role, give Jermain Uller and let him go.
I love Jermain on these pressure picks like Uller. The whole mentality here is to try and just give him a lead, because if Jermain gets ahead, he's not one that's prone to stopping. He really likes continuing all of the aggression and then putting it everywhere on the map. He can do those early rotations with the Uller that I think is going to synchronize very nicely and at least prevent Mousesports from lacking so much pressure during the early laning phases like we might see in the mid lane.
Well, Camazot's that pick, probably for Cherryo, though could be that flex for Nika. Clearly, it looks like the SK is still focusing on those Guardians in the banning phase. Probably not convinced that Camazotz is in the jungle. Ymir, one of those picks that Dardez plays very well in the support role and could end up being an impact in the jungle as well.
That's one of the funny parts, too, about this Mousesports roster is that so many of their players can all flex these different Guardian selection picks, and it can be really difficult whenever a team like SK is trying to focus more on the weaknesses, just because a lot of Guardians can just be played in a lot of different spots, some that you might not necessarily anticipate. Nika, however, is a player where I think that when he was initially in competitive play, we saw him kind of opting for more of those pressure picks, the Bolognas, some Wukong, but I would like to see a Bologna ban here, potentially from SK, although they might just let Nika get whatever he wants at first to see what he's got.
Well, Susano banned away by SK. Athena banned as well here by Mousesports, as they're still looking at what could be potential good setup on the other side for SK. Want to give you guys a quick apology. I know we're having some stream issues. We do plan on finishing off these picks and bans and then taking a look at what we can do to remedy that, but still got to get through these picks and bans right now, and Mousesports still have a couple things left on the table that they need. Ravin selected. So this is still very ambiguous in their draft. Could be Camazot's jungle, Ravin solo, could be flip-flopped as well.
Ravin ran rampant in Season 4 in that jungle role in particular. I think that it would also be very suitable for somebody like Cherryo's playstyle. It's kind of that hybrid pick. It's not necessarily the all-in jungle burst assassin, although you can opt for the high damage build that lets you be. But you can also lean a little bit more towards that defensive tankiness role, kind of just absorbing as much damage as possible while still being a nuisance in the team fight.
Wow, Habwa here. This is going to be Habwa solo, I'm guessing? Could Cullen support Habwa solo? SK just has tons of damage across the board.
Solo ADC, Habwa mid, potentially.
Nemesis. Okay, either way, we're gonna have to figure it out. Who knows what's going on? Cabrakan, the last pick here for Mousesports. As we mentioned, apologies for the technical difficulties. We're gonna throw to a quick break before we get into game between SK and Mousesports.
Could Cullen support?
It's possible. We saw it earlier today. Anything's possible now. This is Season 5, baby.
Truer words haven't been spoken, excuse me. Tom Badgah, Anatoly Alaseyanak, as we have our second matchup of the day. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mixer. This is the first day of the Smite Pro League. If you're just joining us, we watched Energy take on Rival earlier on, a semifinals rematch from Worlds, and well, it was a long one. Went all three. We saw who won then, but who's going to win now? Let us know in the chat who's going to win game number 1. We've dropped a poll there, and we'll take a look at those results a little bit later.
They were alluding to the composition of being too much damage on the side of SK Gaming, and honestly, I kind of have to agree with Taco in terms of the damage, but the question remains is, where's their control?
Sure.
They have mobility, obviously, between the Soul, Habwa, but if they don't find the kills right off the bat, I think the longer these teamfights kind of pan out, I think Mousesports might have a little bit more control in that sense, right? Cabrakan can lock some of these characters down very well. Cherryo is known for his Guardians in the jungle role. That's no surprise that Cabrakan was last picked. Honestly, after the Ymir ban from SK, I honestly thought it was going to be the Cabrakan right afterwards, but they didn't want to deal with the Susano. Let Cherryo have the Guardian. A slower god slightly, you know. Once he has the Walrus hands, he's faster than almost anybody, honestly, but that's beyond the point. And Nika, making his kind of another solo lane experience. He's been bouncing between so many roles, and look at BigManTingz now playing in mid.
Yeah, Nika, I think, definitely is a solo laner sort of by default. He's played some of the roles trying to make it work, but he's a solo laner at core. We'll see what happens there. He is coming back to the league. It's been a while since we've seen him. But BigManTingz, that's what I'm looking at here. We've seen junglers switch to mid. Works out. We've seen solo laners play around. Going from Guardian to mid lane, that's a completely different mindset.
That's almost as a dramatic switch as you could possibly do, right? Because it's not like you're a frontliner that can still engage or whatever, like solo laners or junglers can. It's like literally you're waiting. You're in the back line now, and you're allowing your team to make the calls, and all you have to do is just aim your abilities.
Funball going to use the beads as Jermain finds the stun, and the Bruise brothers back in action. Jermain and Dardez, the fighting French. These guys come out swinging already. You can see the Robin giving out the hands here early on. I expect this to be a very active duel lane, to say the least. Funball always wants to fight, and Dardez and Jermain have literally built a career off of it.
But look who his lane partner is. It's Badgah coming back from almost the grave, and it's actually SK Gaming that has a slight edge. Both of these hunters taking a little bit of damage here, but Badgah could be in a little bit of trouble
Nice
instead.
push, but it's a turnaround. Dardez takes down Badgah. Welcome back to the Pro League, my friend. Number 1 for Mousesports.
And the problem was he just didn't have the sustain available here. He only has a health potion, no chalice. And meanwhile, though, the left side jungle Faeles forced to disengage. Normally, when you're playing Kukulkan solo lane, you'll also have a health chalice and health potion. Still going for the health potions and the Warrior's Blessing for sustain. But not having 2 health potions taken at the same time, those minions, despite doing less damage than Season 4, will still add on. If you press your Y screen after that death, you're probably going to see archers like 400 or 500 damage.
Yeah, it's a lot of trouble here. And trouble for Badgah, man. I mean, Badgah was a fine support back in the day, once upon a time played, honestly, under the SK banner. Kind of funny how things come full circle. Was with Lawbster and Reels. But was known for dying a little bit too much. Coming into this season, kind of hoping he turns things around, but not a good look to start this way.
Not at all. But in the solo lane, we're actually seeing a very interesting matchup here between Nika and Ducky. Playing this Habwa in the solo lane, we're seeing that he's going for a Warrior's Blessing. And that's something you want to do to keep the sustain going here. Not only are you getting the health, but you're also getting the mana every 10 seconds.
So Ducky with the Habwa here, like you said, I mean, does he have the upper hand?
For now, yes, he does have the upper hand. It seems that Nika's getting zoned away here, right? You give him the water cannon and the water sprout. It's just a lot of damage. You would have to deny the Habwa his blue buff before you're going to be able to really control the laning phase.
Early on, 1 kill from Mousesports. Not really opening the door for any opportunity, just kind of, we'll take the first blood gold and run. Having it on the Dardez, on the Robin support, honestly, kind of a nice thing. A lot of times you see these Ares or these aggressive supports pick up that first blood. Really, really nice, because you want to get these levels, you want to get this gold early on these aggressive supports. Otherwise, they're not able to really do what they want to do.
And something that Dardez and Jermain are just known is running with the lead, right? You played such aggressive gods here, and then all of a sudden, now this Robin Uller combination has a 1 level lead above a Funballer, or now just hitting level 4, but at least a 1 level lead over Badgah, and they could still play really aggressive here once that the Robin hits level 5, abusing the fact that Badgah is going to be behind experience, not going to have his ultimate for a little while.
Nice knock up there, and Habwa is just nasty.
Moving forward, though, in the dual lane, still seeing a little bit of poke here from the boys of Mousesports. They're able to steal away that purple buff.
Sorry about that. I was choking. Hopefully the Habwa doesn't choke here, but I've seen him most successful in the jungle role. When stuck in a lane, he's a little bit more susceptible to the gank. Now, he is safer than he was in yesteryear because the map is larger and rotations can be punished a little bit more so. But seeing him here in the solo lane, this is definitely, I think Habwa's kind of go-to position is jungle these days, secondarily mid lane, and tertiary solo lane. Kind of weird to see him here.
Well, it's still not a bad idea, because if he's left alone, he's going to transition like an absolute monster. And this level 6 play right here, when you're just constantly walking at the enemy solo laner, doesn't matter what solo lane god that is, you're able to poke them out pretty heavily there as long as you consistently hit the abilities and find those extra stacks on the Warrior's Blessing.
Well, Bracken actually does a great job against Ducky's choice of the Habwa. Not only is he going to be able to lock him down by way of the ultimate, but damage reduction works very well against a burst character like Habwa. So right now, the Guardian needs to get some farm, but expect to see Cherryo on the right side of the map. Right now, Nika's in trouble. It's the enemy jungler, Faeles, that's doing the business. There's the turnaround ultimate on top of Faeles, but help from the Habwa. The ultimate just doesn't do the damage at this point early in the game, and Nika gets number 2 with help from his jungler.
Good patience also from Nika, not using that ultimate whatsoever to be able to find that kill, but now he will to dive that tier 1 tower. Second kill for Mousesports.
Not a good look for SK this early on. 1,500 already at 6 minutes of the game, and 2 kills on that Batman over there on the solo lane. Camazotz versus the Habwa, you really can't get behind on the Habwa. If you're not doing the damage and able to really blow people up, you're not doing anything.
It just depends on which jungler makes their presence felt first. Cherryo definitely did a great job there, locking down Faeles once that blink was not used, but rather the double dash was used. There was no possible escape from Faeles. The ultimate was expended, so he didn't really have that mobility.
In comes Dardez looking for the ultimate. Finds the ultimate, but not much more after that. Robin has a really interesting kit. You know, he's a warrior that's kind of been played in the jungle because his ability to avoid damage by way of the overhead kick allows him to build very aggressive and kind of doesn't need much of anything. Shield as well. He's kind of innately tanky. Well, that serves him for the support role too.
Yeah, you're able to engage and tower dive the same way that a jungler would, and you're not bringing in a lot of control compared to, like, let's say Geb, Cataclysm, Knock Up, a huge AoE control, but single target lockdown is what Robin is all about. He does have a root, he has a very short cooldown on his slow, his first ability, and he's able to kind of cut the distance a little bit with that overhead kick.
Oh, that's what I was mentioning. Stuck in the ultimate. Lucky Ducky finds the angle right there. But Cherryo next time, I think, will be a little bit better positioned, and that ultimate will not save the Habwa.
He needed to kind of cut the distance better. Maybe if he used a blink ultimate straight off the bat, that would angle that if Ducky had to use the ultimate, it would be away from his tower. But despite not finding the kill, it's good enough to invade the blue buff. So all the poke that Ducky is trying to go for is not going to be valuable because Nika has the blue, meaning he can expend his mana to regain health with his abilities.
Lawbster on the soul, one of the most powerful characters in the game right now. I mentioned Nemesis. Faeles is playing her at the moment, and Nemesis is out of control. Itemization has just really helped her out. There's 2 specific ones. This Lawbster gets aggressed on, but turned around. Faeles finds the ultimate onto the enemy Bracken. There's a dash, there's an ultimate, and there's a kill. Papa Lob says hello, puts SK Gaming on the board, but BigManTingz punishes him. The kill.
No, getting collapsed on is Faeles, though. Great over the top. Mystic Rush by Dardez, being collapsed on also by Nika. And when you have that kind of advantage in the soul lane, you're able to make those rotations, especially 8 minutes into the game. You're high enough level that you can full clear the wave very quickly and then make that rotation against, especially when you're against a mage soul laner that's building Warlock staff stacks. That player is not rotating anytime soon, so if you make your presence felt in other lanes, that's how you tip the edge of the game in your team's favor.
Right now, left side, Jermain looking for the stun. Off the mark, and so he backs off.
Nice little backpedal from Funballer. He's not one that's not used to Jermain's tactics. They're always playing aggressive. It's very easy to kind of read when Jermain wants to kind of aggress.
That's the Funball footsies.
It's true.
Not the barra back.
Not the barra back stuff.
That's the Funball footsies. Cherryo looking for the play here. Grouped up as 3 as his mid laner makes the rotation, but SK will answer in kind with a rotating Hunter. Mentioned before, the Soul. Lawbster playing it. As Cherryo comes in trying to steal the Oracles. This character is very powerful. Right now, itemization for mages. Flavor of the week is Lifesteal. Bancroft's Talon, not changed, but very powerful. And Typhon's Fang is the name of it. Sorry, blanked there for a moment. Typhon's Fang is usually found in in accordance with the Bancroft talent. So a lot of lifesteal when you're a basic attacker works out well. We'll see if Soul able to transfer that into the mid game. Right now, it's all about Ducky. Nice ultimate going the other way. And now Faeles looking to turn things around.
Oh, using that ultimate defensively. It's going to force Faeles away, but I think Nika could actually clean up here. He's going to go into the ultimate. He's not in range to hit the first one because of that double dash, and the speed buff Nemesis is just going to get out of danger.
Lawbster trying to deal with 2 players there in the mid lane while the rest of his team tries to protect its jungle. This blue buff has been invaded a number of times. Kind of expect that against a mage.
That's what you need to do to shut him down, right? Whenever you're against a Guardian or a mage, they need to use a lot of abilities to clear the wave. Warriors generally have higher basic attack damage, so they're still able to at least like knock down some of the minions with those basic attacks. Can't be the same for these Guardians and mages. Not to mention one that's going to take a long time to come online, such as Habwa.
Ooh, fun ball. Hit by the combo. Jermain will bring his opponent down to the yellow. Big play there, and that'll open up the window for the Gold Fury. SK Gaming know all about this, but can they respond? Here comes Soul.
Not in
and
time.
Badgah, they're not interested in playing defense here. Gold Fury goes the way of Mousesports, all because of that pressure that they put on the Funball, and their already large lead pushed that much further. 5K for Mouse.
And whenever you're a hunter that doesn't go for Devourer's Gauntlets or Aussie, whenever you clear that wave, you're not getting that sustain back. So you're just basically a sitting duck. If you do try to contest that Gold Fury objective, Funballer was sitting at about half health. Jermain really taking advantage of that 1v1, calling for his teammates to make the rotation, wanting to potentially team fight, but they got the better prize, which was that Gold Fury.
Interesting build path, not itemization, but build path coming out from Jermain here. Transcendence Crusher is as standard as it comes on an Uller. But the difference here is the order.
The order of it.
Transcendence, got to stack it, usually comes first.
Normally, that's what you would think, but the difference between 0 stacks Transcendence and 50 stacks, you're looking at about 22, 23 power once you get that extra 750 mana or so. So that's why he's more interested about getting the Crusher passive online, getting that extra damage over time burst. He also doesn't really care about that 10% cooldown reduction because he's confident that he's just going to land those abilities and get Funballer out of the equation.
You can see he also built the Hunter's Blessing, so the attack speed going to help him there as well. Attack speed coming on the Crusher, so interesting build path. I think 9 times out of 10 you're going to see that Transcendence built first, because don't forget, the Crusher's additional dot damage is actually dependent on your physical power.
That's true.
So we usually see that Transcendence built in. It sort of feeds the way the Crusher works that way. Jermain, certainly, I mean, he made the play on the Funball to open up the window for Gold Fury, so it's working.
But on top of that, when you get a Crusher this early, a lot of the enemy gods are not going to have that much physical protection. They're still relatively lower level. Some of the Guardians don't have all their physical defenses. So that's another factor that you're considering when you're building the Crusher.
Mousesports with a little bit of a half invade there. Take the little guys and leave the big purple man. And hit the road as the big rotation from SK Gaming came out of the middle lane.
BigManTingz is just quietly farming away, allowing his teammates to kind of set him up just like that.
And there it is, the stun right into the apple, and pop goes the Weasel. Because the Weasel goes pop. 2 kills for BigManTingz. Taco asked it, he's doing it. The BigManTingz.
Cherryo just setting up Big Man so easily. The blink of Bracken laying down the law with those walrus hands, finding the stun onto Lawbster. No time to even use the purification beads either. I'm not sure if that was on cooldown or not. And that's going to result in Mousesports getting themselves another objective in the form of Pyromancer.
Cherryo has been a part of 5 out of 7 kills here in our first game of this set. And a lot of people, because assassins are really powerful right now. Like I said, itemization, just look at what Nemesis is able to do to Uller over here. Fails. Not gonna, ooh, will.
Blink.
There's the blink. Waiting for the cooldown. 5 more seconds, but gonna be able to hand it off with the basic attacks. Faeles finds it. So, Assassin's very powerful, obviously. And a lot of people were saying, you know, Cherryo, like, he's got a Naja and a Hun Bats, but everything else is a Guardian. Is he going to be able to perform? Guess what? The answer is yes.
Well, still playing the Guardian in Season 5. I honestly thought Guardians in Season 5 would take a little bit of a hit in the jungle position at the very least. I'm like, all right, rip Cherryo, right? But when you get a start like this, I mean, the momentum is just there for you. Even building Dynasty Plate Helmet, an item that we haven't really seen being picked up competitively in a long time. He's finding the rotations, more importantly. He knows where to be. Because if you're farming this Cabrakan, you kind of start falling off late game if you're not making the impact early to mid game. That's where your true power spike comes online.
Very true, and to be fair to Cherryo's selection here, this whole team kind of comes online in the mid game. Jermain, after he gets basically this item set, is going to start swinging. Right now, Lawbster's in trouble, not swinging anything as the mid lane soul. There comes the ultimate, and there goes Nika's. Down goes the mid laner. Cherryo in trouble, knocked up. Thorns is activated. Faeles don't care. Takes down the solo laner, but BigManTingz takes down the enemy solo as well. Jumping forward is Dardez, looking for the Nemesis. He'll back off. Nice shots from the Hunter. All in all, it's a 1-for-2 in favor of Mouse.
I love what Nika did. He completely ignored Ducky. He walked behind him, not interested, want Papa Lawbster instead. He got the heat. He was avoiding the water, and that was the element of choice.
Really, really, really nice stuff. Mousesports had both the element of surprise and the victory there. And so, it's tier... Man, BigManTingz playing. Did not expect this out of BigManTingz whatsoever, especially against a veteran like Lawbster.
So it's a similar case of how you were asking me about Emilzy's transition into NRG. He wasn't truly challenged. He's just playing his role without being aggressed on.
Sure.
Faeles' attention was kind of shifted away from the mid lane specifically, and that's allowing BigManTingz to quietly farm away, allow Cherryo to be the aggressor that he normally is, stack up the Warlock staff, and he's in a great position now, level 17, highest in the game, and he's ready to rumble.
Right. And watching how this one works out, I mean, you know, this is, all eyes are going to be on Nika and BigManTingz, I think, for the first half of the split. And 4-0-2, 4-0-2, identical positive slash lines for the noobs. You look at this team on Mouse, and you know what you're getting out of Cherryo. You're going to get one of the best setup mans in the SPL.
Yep.
You look at Dardez and Jermain, you know what you're getting out of them. One of the best duo lanes in the SPL. If Nika and BigManTingz can perform like this, now I understand that SK Gaming may not be number one, but they're certainly a formidable team. If Nika and BigManTingz can play like this every game, totally, Mousesports can be not just a top team, this can be a #1 team.
I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket quite
If they
yet.
do this every game, Dardez, Jermain, and Cherryo are contenders.
It's a good performance, don't get me wrong. Like, it's the perfect slash line for Nika and BigManTingz, but it's still looking a little bit too early. It's only game #1 of this best of 3 against SK Gaming, who's trying to figure out their chemistry.
I said if they played like this every game.
Well, sure, but the question is, like, can they play from behind? Can they still close out a game? We've only seen half of a game. We haven't seen the how they're able to close out a game, because who knows? They could have a lead and then start throwing it. Like, that's very easy for a team to be overconfident. Do they have the patience to close this out?
Don't need no patience with a play like that. Blink forward, find the stun on the soul, find that kill on a Nemesis. Double digits as Jermain puts one in the ground. Tier 1 tower already toasted. Tier 2 tower almost down. Badgah gonna step in front of the arrows. Bad choice there. Jermain finds his second kill of the contest, and the Tier 2 tower falls down.
Badgah just didn't understand. Needed to go down right away. The tower was undefendable once Faeles was eliminated. Lawbster had to use both of his relics just to escape danger. And there's a little bit of a disconnect, I think, between the frontliners of SK Gaming and the back line. They need to reel some of them in and reset. Look for better opportunities to defend. Like, it's not the end of the world if your Tier 2 tower falls. But now, given a Fire Giant, you're almost basically giving up the game.
Right. I think the idea behind that Tier 2 tower defense, totally, was that if we defend this, we have a chance. If we don't defend this, they're going to take it and go to fire.
Sure.
If we do defend this, they're going to take it and go to fire. So either we can fight into it and hope for a pick at least, because if you get one or two, they're not getting fire. Because if you don't find a pick, obviously the objective goes the way of Mousesports. And that's exactly what happened. So I like that SK fought into it. I understand why, and I like it. Unfortunately, just didn't show up right in the right spot.
Well, it was actually like Mousesports that was engaging first, right? Cherryo blinked in, he
Oh, yeah.
cut off a lot of the teammates.
But you could just leave.
That's true. You could try to leave if you really wanted to. If you can break down those walls fast enough to allow Faeles to disengage, sure, but that was not the case. The frontliner fell there, and then the second frontliner, Badgah, sacrifices life to no real avail. If there was 4 members strong, maybe SK Gaming can potentially hold that Fire Giant. A good ultimate from Badgah's Kakolin in knocking up right at the perfect timing when Fire Giant's about to fall could enable somebody to steal it. So maybe just have Badgah sacrifice himself at Fire Giant instead of that tier 2 tower.
That, now you're cooking with fire. That makes a lot of sense. Mousesports here, just get rid of doing just the chores, taking care of these towers with the Fire Giant. No real contest coming out from SK after that mid lane push, so the right side tower likely to fall down easy peasy if Mouse decide to look towards it.
It's looking very pretty for Mousesports. You were talking about how Nika and BigManTingz were performing with their scoreline, but honestly, my attention is all on Cherryo, how he has been able to kind of allow these score lines to be the way that they are. 21 minutes into the game, he hasn't stopped putting his foot to that pedal.
And like I said, I mean, he's just one of the best setup mans in the game. He always knows where his teammates are. I feel like he has his teammates' cooldowns on his screen. He almost never initiates when his teammates aren't able to follow up.
Nice little long-range poke there also from Mousesports between Discordia and Uller. They are certainly able of doing so. Nice little blink, though, from BigManTingz, forcing out the early ultimate from Ducky.
Love Jermain focusing on the objective. Let everybody else do it. And the ultimate from Cherryo just to make sure Jermain continues to hit that shot, those shots uninterrupted. Beautiful stuff right there. Oh, man, I love to see the off-label application of those moves. And the ultimate right there just used as literally wall. Love it.
Well, they got the left side. Phoenix now going in for the middle one as well. Up in the sky is Nika zoning very well. Cherryo's going to fall, though, a little bit too far deep as Faeles takes him out. But Nika right beside him gets one. BigManTingz gets a second.
That's 40 seconds on both characters about. That's going to be another one down for 50 plus. 2 players left to play defense. Mousesports are thinking about it. Jermain is sitting here just frothing at the mouth. They want the Titan. Mousesports filter in already. They're looking at the big objective 22 minutes in, and it's halfway down.
It's so close to being completed here. Mousesports are just inches away from securing their first victory in this best of 3. Jermain from a distance gets Faeles, and Mousesports gets the Titan.
Jermain trying to farm some kills in the fountain, but 15-4 in just 22.5 minutes. We see the victory go the way of Mousesports. Much quicker games than we saw in the beginning of the afternoon.
And honestly, I think it's a problem with SK Gaming's lineup potentially. Like, when you play Habwa in the solo lane, it's going to be a long game. Like, if you don't get to the late game as a Habwa in the solo lane, you're basically useless. You're not going to be an impact in the early mid-game stages, and Mousesports definitely abused that fact.
Very true. We were kind of critical of the Habwa pick early on, so Ducky probably isn't going to be the winner of this poll, but let us know who you think was the top performer in that game. We'll catch your MVP votes and we'll go and move on. Totally thinks it's Cherryo. Hey Ryan, who's the MVP?
Why do you keep asking me, Tom? I'm not in Mixer chat. That's for the chat to decide. I'm just here to deliver the news of who they think is the MVP. Aggro joined by Taco here, and Taco, that was a tough one, I would say, for SK. That the draft, we said it had some potential. It was going to be, one way or the other, and it went pretty decidedly in Mousesports' favor.
Bit of an oof on that one, but sometimes it is a swing and a miss when it comes to a competitive level of play. I did like the mindset and the mentality here from SK. It seemed as though their main point that they wanted to get across was burst damage and making sure that they take out Mousesports from the get-go, but it just so happened that Mouse had the jump on SK from the very start.
And who are we talking about? The 3 core members of Elevate that got to stick around. Jermain, Dardez, Cherryo. They're all going to do fine. How are Nika and BigManTingz going to do? They were insane. They killed it all game long. Let's take a look at a little bit more in depth of what happened in that solo lane, the blue buff control, as well as just the overall pressure was really in Mousesports' favor. 53% of the blue buffs went their way.
Mouse was just all over SK from the start, like we already mentioned. It's really difficult for that hub wall to get up and running when you're just constantly being pressured, and that's kind of one of the downsides of opting for a mage in that solo lane. You leave yourself very vulnerable at the starting phase of the laning phase, and it just ended up being a really unfortunate circumstance because once Mousesports got the initial jump onto SK, they never really let go of that lead. They just made sure to consistently invade in the jungle, consistently apply lane pressure everywhere, and that made it practically impossible for SK to have that kind of waiting period for their damage to get online.
Well, it seemed like, Nika, BigManTingz, the new members of Mousesports were doing a great job. The fans at home, they still love them some Cherryo. Cherryo is your MVP for game number 1 on that Cabrakan jungle. And as you mentioned, him being all over the map, putting pressure everywhere. Chat, he got no kills. He had no kills. I get it. He did do a really good job of being around the map, but I'm still pretty surprised that they voted for Cherryo.
Sometimes you just got a clear fan favorite, and Cherryo is that guy. He was all over the map still with this Cabrakan, just the setup for his team. That's probably the main reason why he ended up winning over the heart of Mixer chat, because the Cabrakan setup, it can be phenomenal. And on top of that, the burst damage is still able to be applied. It kind of introduces that hybrid playstyle of Assassin and Guardian, and it's one that really, it fits perfectly for Cherryo.
I get it. I was kind of kidding. He definitely had a great game. I just, I like to see the big kill numbers. That's why I play mid. It's just kind of close to my heart. Well, what is SK going to do to adjust? Hopefully something, because they did not have their best showing there in game number 1. Game 2.